Hello and welcome back aboard the good airship Hopium. I am your host, Snappydude. As always, I hope you are having a wonderful day. And today we're going to talk about the Switch version of Gigantic. Will there ever be one? Could there be one? Should there be one? Because I think this is an interesting topic, and I've seen people bring it up a lot over the last couple weeks. And I think it deserves to be explored. Also, it is something easy that I can talk about without having to go find video clips or artwork to show off for. So that's what we're talking about this week. So, do you have an opinion on the Switch version of Gigantic? Do you wish there was one coming out? Leave a comment below. So here's the thing. I don't think there will ever be a Switch version of Gigantic. When you Google the Switch, the first thing you get is that the Switch has 4 gigabytes of RAM. We all know Gigantic is notorious for having an 8 gig RAM requirement, so I don't see how this would ever happen. That being said, I think everybody is in agreement that the Switch would be an amazing place for Gigantic. If Gigantic really... There's a lot of people on the Switch. And I say this because there's something about the Switch. There's something about Nintendo products. The people who play Nintendo products are more willing to play games with these style of graphics. These cartoony characters do not bother them the way some of the hardcore Xbox and PlayStation bros will only play stuff with the most uber realistic graphics. You don't have that on Nintendo. And I think we can all agree that we all know that. We all see that all the time. You know, you have like adults playing Mario Wonder with absolutely no problem, but if you put that same game on a different console, it would never sell because they would just reject it. And so it would be a great place. There are also a lot of kids and teenagers on the Switch, which, again, is something that the other consoles don't necessarily have in the same way. As somebody who, outside of Gigantic, the biggest game I've ever had success with on YouTube, what little success I have, my channel is extremely tiny, but probably the most viewers I ever had in a stream was Splatoon. Splatoon is a huge game, and it's a very popular, very cartoony multiplayer game. It is very fast-paced, and I think a lot of the types of people I met playing Splatoon would be very, very attracted to a game like Gigantic. That being said, it's definitely probably not going to come to the Switch 1, but we do know that there are rumors of a Switch 2 coming within the next year or so, and if that's true, and we can probably pretty safely assume that some of the specs on the Switch 2 are going to bump up a little bit, do I think the Gearbox would waste the money to port this game to the Switch 2? And my answer is, I don't think any of us know shit. I'm trying to be the most optimistic guy in the room. I always am. Like, I'm trying... I said when they announced the Rampage Edition that I think there will be DLC. And I still do think that. I still do have high hopes for things like DLC or a Switch version, because I don't think you put out a multiplayer game in 2024 and not have some kind of roadmap, some kind of plan, some kind of expectation for future content, or at least the possibility of one. You might not have a concrete plan. You may not be paying the studio to make 2 years worth of new content, but I do think you might have something in your contract where you go, okay, well, if this game hits this threshold of sales or this level of player base on a consistent basis, maybe we start looking at other future options. Maybe it's a couple of skins at first. Maybe it's some season passes or something like that. Maybe, like today's video, it's a Switch 2 version. And I think if I were Gearbox and I were looking at like things I could do pretty cheaply, going forward, beyond this point, to create, to just sort of build a community here, to build this IP, to create a player base that could create something sustainable to make me more money in the long run. If I were Gearbox, I would definitely be looking at a Switch 2 version. If this game succeeds. That being said, if the game comes out and 10 people buy Gigantic, then, fuck that. I wouldn't waste the money on it either. Just like tons of AAA games that come out. I'm sure Sony and Microsoft have plans for a lot of those games. And then they come out and they sell like shit sometimes, and you just cancel the plans. But I very much would believe that Gearbox probably has at least some kind of small plans, even if they're not publicly announcing them, even if they're not telling us. I would guess they at least have had some kind of talks or negotiations about what the future of this IP would hold. Because there is always the possibility, the market is very favorable right now, that Gigantic could pop off. And if it pops off, they have to be ready for it. That's not something where you can just let the studio walk away, start to work on other stuff, and then all of a sudden you're screwed and you have to find a whole nother studio to start again. My guess would be there's probably some kind of deal with Gearbox in the studio where, they're not completely locked in to Gigantic, but if things pick up, my guess is Gearbox probably has some kind of option to get them to work on more. And hopefully that would be a Switch 2 version, because I really do think a Switch 2 version would be just fantastic for this game. I really do. If the Switch 2 comes out and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM and it can actually play Gigantic, I just think the Switch community, from what I've seen of it from streaming Splatoon, would just eat up this game. I really do. Also, the $20 price point is very reasonable for a game you might buy for your 10-year-old kid. None of the action is too gory or too violent for a child. This is a game that I could very, very easily see a lot of parents going, okay, $20, it keeps my kid busy, it lets him do a little bit of online multiplayer stuff, and I think it would work. I think this game could really, really catch on the Nintendo Switch. But that being said, it's definitely not going to happen on Switch 1. I think that is just the start and the end of that argument. And the Switch 2 thing, could it be possible? Yeah. Should it be possible? Oh, most definitely, because I think it would succeed. And but will it happen? Probably gonna depend a lot on sales. That being said, this is this week's rant about Nintendo. It's completely pointless. I just wanted to talk about Gigantic, throw my voice out there into the ether, and hopefully some of you enjoy it. Tell me your thoughts below. How do you feel about the fact that the game's not coming to Switch? It probably won't ever come to Switch, but if there was a Switch 2 and the game sold well enough, the Gearbox thought, hey, let's try it on Switch too, because we could just do a little bit of work, get it ported over there real quick, throw in some more cross-play stuff. Would you like to see it? Would you play this game on a Switch? If you had a Switch or a Switch 2, whatever the fucking Switch 2's name is, would you buy a copy of Gigantic for your Switch so that you could play it on the go, so that you could, buy it for your freaking kids or your nephews or, whoever, your mailman, so that he can play it while he walks around? Anyway, tell me that in the comments below. See you next time on the Good Airship Hopium. I hope you have a great day, and as always, Snappydude out, y'all. Bye.